Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to episode 5 of Noahgenda. Today, I am very excited to introduce you to my guests, Kyle Ryan and Chrystal Ryan of the Ryan Group. They are a husband and wife real estate team here in the greater Phoenix area, and people I have the pleasure of calling clients, partners, and friends. So, first things first, thank you guys for making the time to be here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
I know you guys have a lot of demands on your time. You have a little baby, you have an animal, you have a thriving real estate business. So I appreciate you guys carving out time to have a little chat today.
Yeah, definitely.
So first things first, tell us a little bit about how you guys kind of got started in real estate, how you guys met, and then what the evolution looked like as you decided, hey, we're together, and you know what? Why don't we do this real estate thing together as well?
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, it happened relatively quick and around the same time. So we did not know each other when we got licensed, but we were licensed within like a couple months of each other. And I did it, on my end, just as a part-time thing. I wanted to sell my parents' house, just kind of do things for friends and family. Chrystal, as far as you getting started?
Yeah, I've always been super interested in real estate. And so I moved out here a little over 10 years ago and decided it was the direction that I wanted to go. I came from a sales background for most of my career. And so just kind of changed gears a little bit. And I only wish I had started sooner. But that's kind of that's my background anyways. And then the way that we got started was we met actually on Bumble. For those of you that don't know that, nice little dating app.
Yeah.
And
Success story.
Yeah, and just happened to both be in real estate. And me being the crazy Gemini that I am, I was like, yeah, we're getting kind of hot and heavy, and you're going to move in the next couple months, whatever. Why don't you quit your job and come do real estate with me? It'll be fun.
That's a great idea. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and he did. So that's where it all began.
Yeah, so she was doing real estate full time, and I was doing it part time. I was doing like a sales job on the side too. And then we met, and I think it was within a week I had quit my job.
It was
and
pretty
then within
fast.
2 weeks maybe how do I get out of my lease? And yeah, it was very, very fast.
Yeah.
And then within 6 months it was the Ryan Group.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back. So within a week of meeting
I know it's
her,
a lot.
Yeah.
Chrystal convinces you, leave your job, come do real estate full time, and within 2 weeks, get out of your lease and move in.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I was working on
Like a love at first sight type of thing.
It was.
Yeah.
It was crazy. When our first date, I showed up. She had closed the deal. I had, closed the deal.
Feeling good, walking into your
Feeling
day.
good. I show up. I had a bottle of Vouv. Let's pop and let's have And then we went out. We had wine. We had a great time. And it just never stopped. We never stopped having fun from there. So it was
That's
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. And you moved out here, got into real estate, and I would say, I don't know, 90% of the time when you talk to an experienced agent and you say oh, how should I get into real estate? The first suggestion is oh, well, call your sphere. But you're out here new.
Yeah.
You didn't have a sphere to
I
call
had
on.
to build my sphere completely from the ground up. So
What did that look like?
It was insane. But luckily I found a mentor that I trust and respect very highly. And he got me dialed in with Zillow leads. And so I kind of started that way.
Yeah. Was
Very
Eric?
hard. Eric. Yeah. So just very, the hardest leads you really can get, online leads, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I started. So if you can start there, you can kind of do anything, right? So yeah, that was not easy, but I built my business with Zillow leads, and then just it blew up from there. So
Well, it's kind of a baptism by fire, right?
Yeah.
To your point, that's probably the hardest way to start.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're starting at the hardest spot, which is converting somebody who doesn't know you and getting them to trust you, when we all know that people know, for the most part, a lot of real estate agents, the rest is kind of easy, right? As the two of you get to know each other and build your community and then build your sphere of clients through these Zillow leads, it almost probably became a little bit easier, at least after those initial, totally cold Zillow leads.
For sure. And then for me, it was just really important to keep that business growing. So, starting with those Zillow leads and nurturing them and being very persistent. I think I use the term politely persistent. And I think I got that from you,
Pleasantly
actually.
persistent.
That's
yeah.
it.
Yep.
That's it.
Pleasantly persistent.
And just like staying on top of those, making sure they close. And then not just that, but then after they close, just making sure I'm staying in touch with them, checking in, seeing how their family's doing, what's new in their life, how is the house, just staying on top of people. And I think that has kind of helped to just snowball the business too.
Well, you guys do a lot of really cute, like personalized pop buys and gifts to your clients.
Yeah.
That if you're not familiar, you guys should follow them on social media. But there's a lot of cute stuff that you guys do to stay in front of your clients that is like a personalized touch, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just something that you can tell took no thought. It's like, oh, this is something that they did intentionally because it's something that they like and they figure their clients would like.
Yeah. And that's really important to us too, is just kind of keeping it like fun and just, really appreciating our clients and showing that appreciation. So we're the brains behind the little fun ideas, and we just make it happen, throughout the years. And I don't know, I somehow still keep in touch with people I sold houses to like 7-8 years ago, and I still drop off cookies on their anniversary, and they're like, "You really remember?" And I'm like, yeah.
That's awesome.
Is that bad?
That's great. No, I think it's fantastic.
We definitely, and Chrystal, more so interjects herself into our clients' lives.
Yeah.
I do. They become friends, right? We hang out with, I think, majority of our clients on a regular basis still, after 5, 6, 7 years. Awesome. We get random calls out of nowhere. I think one of our listings now was 7 years ago is when we
one of my first Zillow leads, actually.
Came
Full circle.
circle.
Very full circle
That's
moment.
crazy.
Yeah. And it's great because that's like one of the things too I love about real estate is like you get to see the progression of people's lives.
Yeah.
Like this one in particular, it was a Zillow lead at the time. I was one of the agents for Coronado, and just met this cute little adorable couple that was just dating.
Yeah.
And this was about 7 years ago. And fast forward to today, they got married, they have 2 kids, and now we're selling their home and they're upgrading to a bigger home closer to family. So just those little things I think make a huge difference.
That's so great. That's fantastic. Kind of similar story to you guys, like dating, and now you got not 2 kids, but a kid. And
Maybe a second, maybe. No announcements or anything.
All right.
But we're talking about a second.
Talking about maybe thinking about it.
Because life isn't crazy enough. We have to add another one.
May as well add some chaos.
Yeah.
Keeps things exciting.
Chaos is fun. Yeah.
For sure.
Now, so Chrystal was already doing it full time.
Yeah.
Here you are, you meet somebody new, you got a stable job, right? You're probably collecting a paycheck every couple of weeks. And you say, I have a really good idea. I'm just going to stop doing that. And I'm going to go into real estate full time. Yeah. What was that transition like?
Crazy. I really didn't have much in the way of like, oh, you need 6 months to a year save. I just took the leap.
It's the brilliance of youth, right? Like too young to know any better.
Yeah, just do it and just go. And so what that looked like was attacking my sphere. I am not born in Arizona, but I've been here since 99. So I think that was like middle school. Went to ASU, so know the community well, grew up in Scottsdale, and really just went after my sphere. I was in a fraternity, so had a lot of connections there. And it just worked. People needed a house, and I hit them at the right time, and just kind of built it from there. Plus with the friends and the family,
and we also did Zillow leads too.
Well, that's the other thing. It was when we decided that we were going to do Zillow, and this was before it is what it is today, where you're locked out unless you're on a mega team. We were paying an enormous amount that we could not afford, but that was the fire. If we didn't close at least 2 deals, we were screwed. Like, we were homeless. So we went out and we were closing deals.
We were hungry.
We were very hungry. And to speak to our persistence, I think one of our biggest sales together, our first luxury sales, was a Zillow lead we worked for 3 years. Wow. So we really do stick with you. We're there. No buyer broker agreement, nothing. We just, for 3 years, showed them homes.
Went on good faith. Yeah.
They would go on vacation and bring us stuff back. Like, they loved us. We knew they weren't going anywhere, but it took time. And so we gave them the time, but followed up politely persistent,
I mean, if you're a new agent, that's a great story.
Yeah.
like the power of persistence with your leads.
Oh, yeah.
It took
I think
3
it's so important.
years.
3 years.
Most people aren't going to stick around that long.
No.
That's the thing. I mean, we were just so hungry and so motivated. Plus, we really love them as people.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
fantastic
they were great.
people.
Yeah. And we would have done it even if they weren't great. I mean, it's
Right.
our job to provide that service, right? And when you're paying for leads, and, on our team, I don't pay for leads for our team anymore.
Yeah.
I will provide mentorship with leads that you pay for. And I believe they need to do that because you're never going to work harder
You gotta have
than
skin
if
in the
you
game.
are the one responsible for those leads. You had to work for
different.
those leads. Those leads are going to put money or food in front of you, so it's important. If I'm giving you those leads, what I found is, and I when I was getting leads handed to me, same thing.
Yeah.
I could call them tomorrow, but when you're paying for them, absolutely not. So Zillow really jump-started our business with helping her build a sphere and then also building some grit and some fire and really just putting us through the ringer. And then also we were living in the Biltmore and our zip code was Gilbert. So
we're like, what are we doing here?
what are we? So we were
We're not, like,
driving. Not only were we just paying stupid amounts of money for leads, but then gas and everything.
And time.
Yeah, and just it was so. But we did our research.
Yeah.
We looked at the data at the time. That's where the migration. Still today, that's where
Yeah.
people are going. So
Yeah, the Southeast Valley was very different though.
yeah, it was. I mean, I remember in '99, it was cow fields, and you didn't go. And Scottsdale was the East Valley. And now, if I tell someone Scottsdale's East Valley, they're like, no, that's Central. What are you talking about?
Because everything's moving further
everything's
east.
just going
Well,
out.
everything's
So, yeah.
expanding, right?
Yeah.
Like even when we moved here, I remember I don't know how it came up. The business I was in prior to mortgage, I think they were looking at putting some location like out in Queen Creek or something. And I was like, that's the middle of nowhere.
Not
Like
anymore.
literally the middle of nowhere. And now it's like, no, that's like a thriving community.
Yeah.
There's like a bunch of people in
Yeah.
development. You got to go further out everywhere to
Yeah.
really be there.
Yeah.
And in a relatively short period of time,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Craziness.
Yeah. Now, in regards to how we met, do you guys remember how we met?
I do. Yeah.
I remember how we met.
Blake.
Because that
Blake.
came full circle too.
Yeah, it really
recently.
did.
That
Yeah.
was Blake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That was nuts.
How
I
did
love
you guys
those
know
full
Blake?
circle
So I
moments.
worked with Blake.
okay.
At House.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
So we
I
were
forgot how you
selling-
guys
Not
met.
housed.
HOUZZ.
Yes.
I
ZZ.
should get. There's a free plug, House.
Yeah.
We were selling ad space to like GCs and interior designers, and that's the part-time what I was doing before I left. And
Yeah.
so, but I knew him from there, and he was part of a networking group.
Yeah. A BNI networking group.
And he wasn't looking to buy at all.
No.
He just came up to me one day and was like, "Hey, man, I met this guy. He does something with money, and you have your license. Do you want to meet Noah?" And I was like, "Okay,
Sure.
yeah." So we met for coffee.
We met for
In
coffee.
Tempe.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
Tempe at this little coffee
Yeah.
shop I had not been to.
Yeah.
And I had asked, so as part of this networking group, right? Obviously, like part of my request of the networking group is, if you know anybody who needs a home.
Yeah.
But the bigger request was, if you know any real estate agents you can introduce me to,
Yeah.
that would be super. And so
Yeah.
that was like my request of the group,
Yeah.
right? Was like, just connect me with people who are in this industry. And so, he called me. He's like, hey,
Yeah.
I want to introduce you guys.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah. Forever ago.
what,
7
7 years ago,
something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
6, 7 years ago.
Maybe 6 because we've
Yeah.
been together almost 7.
Okay, so
Yeah.
probably like
That
6
was
years
right
ago.
when
Yeah.
we started. Yeah.
But we're so grateful that he connected
I
us.
know.
We love you so much.
awesome.
Oh well, and likewise, like it was, I think everybody has this experience where you meet somebody and you're like, oh, like these are my people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, I
how
can
we
tell,
felt
like,
when
these
we
are my
met you.
people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was how I felt, and that was the beginning of like our professional relationship and personal relationship, and then talk about things coming full circle. So Blake, then I don't know how much later he quit that job,
Yeah.
and then was he
Yeah.
selling insurance?
He did a couple of
he
different
did
things.
a few different
Yeah.
things. He
Yeah.
was working for a couple different companies,
Yeah.
and then,
And then he
got
moved.
into like cybersecurity.
Yep. And then he moved, and then he came back,
Yeah.
and then he called us.
And now he's in Scottsdale.
And
And he's
you-
been there a year because
you
I
got-
just
yep.
dropped off cookies.
The
And you
cookies
guys
got
helped him
dropped.
find his place, and
Yeah.
we did the
Yeah.
loan, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
full circle.
Full circle.
Those
Full
are the
circle.
best.
Right?
I love it.
So I was like, I thought that was a like when he called me, I was like, no way,
Yeah.
holy smokes, this
Yeah.
is great.
Amazing.
So talk about like follow up and persistence and staying in contact with people you never know.
Yeah.
Right. You never know when I would say the time is right for somebody. Which kind of brings me to the next point I want to talk about. You know, I would say the consistent thing in our business is that it's always changing.
Yeah.
Right? There's always some sort of unique feature, right? You know, it's funny when I hear people say, "Oh, I just wish things would get back to normal," and I'm kind of like, there is no normal.
Yeah.
Like,
Back to
normal is that it's always
You
changing.
mean when it was good
There's
for
always,
you?
right, yeah. When you didn't have to, maybe
Yeah.
when you didn't have to work as hard to get the
Yeah,
results.
That's the norm.
But yeah, like that's not the norm.
Yeah.
It's always changing.
Yeah.
Right. So when somebody comes to you today and, you know, what are you seeing out there as like kind of current market trends? What are you seeing on the buyer side and on the seller side right now? What does the market look like for the people that you're talking to on a daily basis?
I mean, I'll start, I guess, listing side. For sellers, our net sheets look a little different because
Yeah.
we're just automatically putting in like 2%
Just
for
preparing
rate
them.
buy down
Yeah.
requests. you
Yeah.
know? I think every offer we were receiving on, not every offer, but a majority of offers that we're receiving on our listings, buyers want help with the rate. You
Yeah.
know, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
But the sellers need to be prepared for that.
Yep.
So when you're, adjust, I'm not saying inflate costs or price high, but just be prepared. So we're putting it in the sheet so that they understand and they expect it. And then as far as the commission, we still truly believe that buyers agents, I mean, oftentimes they work harder
They do
Yeah.
work really
than everybody
hard.
else.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not just about, getting more representation for your listing because you're offering either more or just a co-broke at all.
Yeah.
But it's also that we believe that people should be fairly compensated for their work, right?
Yes.
And if, you're going to be selling your house and you're part of this transaction and you're part of this process, then you should, in our belief, adhere to some of these, things. So
And we want our sellers to get the most exposure too. You
Yep.
know, if you're
Yeah.
not going to offer a co-broke, imagine how like your buyer pool is going to be, right? It's
Yep.
going to shrink.
Yes.
And I think it's just part of our duties, right, as realtors to educate the sellers on the market and what's going on and what could happen. Also, nothing is like been settled on yet.
No.
They moved it now from July to August. So, I mean, we've come across some zero co-brokes, not very often. But yeah, I think it's just important to just really educate them even now, just getting a head start on it.
Well, I think it's also important too, just to point out that like the zero co-broke thing, if a seller really doesn't want to do that, they want to do that, but it shouldn't have any effect otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Like I hate to say that it's cutting your buyer pool
Yeah.
because it shouldn't, because
But
it
it
shouldn't
might.
matter, but it will.
I can tell you on
so
my side,
Yeah.
the number of buyers, first-time buyers, let's talk first-time buyers, because
Exactly.
I think you do get a little segmentation, right?
Yeah.
Somebody buying a home that's several $1 million is going to be in a position where they can pay their buyers representation if they wanted to and if they had to, right?
Yeah.
But a first-time home buyer, the number of first-time home buyers I talk to who have down payment funds, closing costs,
Yeah.
and then an extra 2 or 3% to pay their
don't.
representation is a tiny percentage of all the first-time home buyers I talk to,
Mm-hmm.
right? As you guys know, you guys work with some first-time home buyers. Frequently, it's, hey, I've got the money for the down payment, but I need some help with closing costs,
Yeah.
right? Like in order to make this work, I'm going to need to get closing costs because either they don't have it or it cuts them so close to the felt that they're like, I'm not comfortable spending every dime I have because I know I still have to live.
Well, it can't be house
And
poor.
moving costs and all
Exactly,
that.
right?
Yeah.
It costs money to move. If you're moving
Sure.
out of an apartment into a home,
Yeah.
you have to furnish the place, right? Like there's all these other costs you have after you move, and nobody wants to be in a position where every dime they spend is now gone.
Yeah.
And so it's not a matter of like, hey, I'm not going to show you this home because there's no co-broke. It's like, hey, this is the situation.
Yeah.
They're not offering a co-broke. What that means is that you guys have to pay our service. This is what it costs, right? And that's probably outlined more now than it, or will be outlined more now than in the past, right?
Yeah.
In our market, there's very few buyer brokers signed prior to news of this pending settlement, but now it's going to be commonplace.
Yeah.
But to your point, it's not even, I don't think it's agents who aren't going to want to show. It's going to be agents who say, heads up, if we write on this house, this is what it
Yeah.
means for you, because they're not offering that. And to your point, Chrystal, as a seller, you want as many eyes as
Everybody
possible
looking
on your
Yeah.
home, because you want to generate as many interested buyers. You want to generate as much demand. So it really is in the seller's best interest frequently to say, hey, we're going to incentivize as many people as possible to come see our home.
Yeah.
This is a way that we can have the largest possible viewing audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think too, like where if we flip to okay, what are we saying to buyers,
Buyers,
right now?
yeah.
What do those
Yeah.
conversations look like? You know, obviously it's the rate buy down, it's things like that. But what kind of separates Chrystal and I think maybe even us from some of the members of our team,
Yeah.
is that and no one take this super seriously, but I will work for free. So here's what I mean. Here's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
I've never.
We're gonna get flooded now over that comment. I can't wait.
I've never used a buyer broker.
Yeah.
Not because I'm lazy
I
and I
haven't
don't
either.
like them or anything like that. It's just because I'm a handshake guy. If you don't want to work
Yeah.
with me, don't work with me, right?
Right.
And how I've always looked at a co-broke is I'm just going to take what I get.
Yeah.
If I show you 3 houses and 1 0, and that's the one you love, well, then let's do this. You're going to be my biggest billboard for like the next year.
Yeah.
When you tell everyone that I helped you get a home because I cared about you and not the commission.
Well, and that's the big difference too. Like just to kind of add on what you said is, we do treat our clients like family. I mean, we are brutally honest when we see properties.
Yeah.
We are extremely thorough throughout the process and hold their hands the whole way through, whether they're first time buyer or they've bought 20 homes. Like we're just very involved. And so I think that is just a testament to that like, obviously this is our livelihood. It would be nice to be paid.
Our daughter eats diapers and eats a lot of strawberries, but
Berries are so expensive.
They really
I might
are.
set up like a GoFundMe for strawberries and
Blueberries
just
and
strawberries, blueberries, and and Pedialyte.
Pedialyte.
Yeah.
Somebody get her to stop drinking Pedialyte.
Oh my
Pedialyte.
God.
Really?
Okay, so this is so off track. She had tummy problems, and so we put what is it, mucil?
Miralax.
Miralax.
Yeah.
To help her
This is
go.
very TMI.
I know
but,
TMI, guys. So we
Yeah.
put it in Pedialyte, and we called it Special Drink. Well, her stomach's fine now, but
Special drink.
she wants special drink.
Lots of special drink. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But anyways, what were we saying about our client?
About just that you'd be
work for
willing
free.
to
Yeah,
work
no,
for
so I
free.
honestly would.
Yeah.
And when I have to start using a buyer broker, emphasis on have to, I'm just going to write in compensation as provided by the seller.
Yeah.
I mean, I need to live. I'm not going to do 100 of these for free. There
Right.
may be a point in time where I'm like,
Like,
wake up,
can't do
Kyle.
that anymore.
But
Yeah.
for now, while I can, we got into this to help people. We love it.
We love helping people.
We have a listing under contract in Coronado that she was talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And I was walking the neighborhood, inviting everybody to the open house. I did about 125 doors that day in about 2.5 hours.
And it was like 100.
It was hot, but one of those doors was a past client. And I
Did you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I knocked and he was home, or actually I think I left his thing. I came back and he was walking out, but Matravius was there and I said, hey,
Yeah. Hey,
and he
Matravius.
just kind of told me like, we were looking at the house, all the changes he made. It's beautiful now. And he was just like, this was the best decision we've ever made. We're never getting rid of this house. It was the best decision for our family.
Yeah.
And I just walked away. I was like, that's the greatest feeling ever. He didn't have to say, and he didn't have to say thank you or anything like that. Just hearing him know that this was the best decision our family, like that's why we do this. And so if I have to take a loss on a commission for that to happen for a family, like I'll do it.
Yeah.
Bottom line. So
There's two things you mentioned there that I want to touch on. So one is the reality is that all of us work for free until something closes.
yeah.
And you can put in hours and hours and hours of work and never see the payoff, right? And for a host of reasons. They talk to you and then they're like, oh, my sister got licensed and I'm going to use my sister as my agent, right? Or they talk to me and then they're like, oh, this person, my bank is offering me an eighth of a better rate.
Or we went through that.
Right.
Yeah.
It happens. It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
Nobody wins 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And so part of what I think what you sign up for is if you are going to be in this with a service mindset of like, you know what, I'm going to give everything I have to every client I talk to. And if I do that, I'm going to win the vast majority of the time.
Yeah.
But they're going to be somewhere I don't, where it doesn't work out, where something happens and maybe they move to another part of the country. Who knows? A million things happen in people's lives. Yeah. But I think that approaching it that way is, in the long run, probably a smart business move, to your point, as long as it's not every single client you talk to.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta
Right.
make money.
Yeah, we
but,
can't be like the pro bono realtors.
Yeah, but
No.
That can't be our
No, I don't think any of
tagline.
us are in that financial
Yeah, we're not out
situation
for
where
that.
it's work for free all the time.
yeah, workfree.com.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
But
but
even like
yeah.
these clients you'd mentioned who, I think I talked to them on a Saturday or a Sunday. The reality is it's going to happen sometimes. You don't always win those. And they were, hey, we found this, that. They wrote a very nice review.
Yeah.
So, okay, great. To your point about being a billboard, wonderful.
Yeah.
And you never know when those folks might come around again too, right? And so
Very
I think
true.
if you treat people the right way, that it does pay for itself. But yes, I mean, obviously, all of us have bills to pay. All of us have berries and Pedialyte to buy.
Yes,
Or whatever
for
your
sure.
version
So
of berries
many-
and
so
Pedialyte
much
is.
berries.
So many,
So many
berries.
Whatever your version of that is,
Yeah.
all of us have that.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so, yeah, I think it's an unfair expectation for people to work for free.
Yeah.
But it is possible that we will see more of that
Yeah.
depending on how this settlement,
We will.
shakes out, is that you could see that more often, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess the proof will be over the next 6 months to a year once it goes into place and we see what it looks like.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that it's going to change a ton. I am convinced that
I don't think so either.
Well,
Yeah.
this morning, the Washington MLS and parts of the Oregon MLS said, no, thank you, NAR. We're keeping the commissions.
we're just going to keep it in.
They're not complying.
There you go. Like, no.
They're the first
That's
MLS
probably-
to come out and say, nope.
There you go.
They got big cojones.
I guess we'll see what happens.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe others will follow suit,
This
right?
is
So
what
we'll
I've
see.
told everybody that asks me about the NAR. I say, too many people make too much money for this huge change to happen.
Yeah.
That's just how the
It's
world
such
works.
a big industry.
You have to be a realist about it. Like, that's how the world works. You're not just going to dip into, people are not going to be okay with that.
Yeah.
So, and then the hourly thing, like, get out of here. Like,
There's no
how
way.
would that even
Get outta
work?
here.
way.
No one would believe you.
There's
I
no
know.
way.
No one believes real estate agents to begin with.
Yeah,
And
how
now
much
you're going to
time?
believe
Right.
that I'm billing you properly? No, that's never going to work.
No, I don't think that's a realistic solution.
I'll worry about it when it changes.
Exactly. I think you adapt.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, the only thing constant is change.
Because what are you planning for now? Like there were some agents talking about how they're adjusting their presentations, and I was just like, well, respectfully, for what? Because nothing's been changed. The forms are literally being edited and audited and revised as we speak.
Yeah.
What you're telling someone right now could be different 5 minutes from now. Like,
Yeah.
What are you changing?
Well,
Be
it could-
prepared, but
Yeah. Be prepared to change, right? Those are the
Yeah.
ones, as things change, those are the folks who are most successful, those best able to adapt to the change,
Yeah.
right? That's what happens across industries.
Survival of the fittest.
That
right?
is what survival of the
Yeah.
fittest is. People make that mistake. They think survival of the fittest, and this is, evolutionarily is like, oh, the biggest, baddest survive. If that's the case, you'd have T-Rexes outside,
Yeah.
right? Biggest, baddest. But that's not what survives. What survives is those most well adapted to change. And that's what happens in business is the people who are best prepared for change and to be nimble and to adapt their business are the ones who succeed, right? If that wasn't the case, Blockbuster would still be here.
Right.
And Sears and Kmart, all these places that were the behemoths of their space, right? Kodak, all these people who dominated their space would still dominate. And they don't because things change and they're not nimble enough to change with them. So, and to your point, though, a lot of this stuff's going to be the same. If you have a great buyer's presentation about all the great things you do for a buyer or a seller, that stuff kind of stays the same. Now, you might say, hey, I have to get you to sign this other form. This is what this looks like on paper.
yeah, a little different.
But all the things that you provide that provide
Those aren't
value to a
gonna change
client,
over
those
for
are
us.
the same,
Yeah.
right?
just
So,
becomes more boilerplate. So,
yeah. What do you think? We kind of already addressed it, but if you were going to meet somebody and say, like, hey, here are a handful of the things that really make us unique as a team. If they're talking to other real estate agents, or if there's somebody watching this who's like thinking about buying a home and, they're like, I like these guys. Like, what would you say makes you guys unique in your industry?
I think first and foremost, it's the fact that you get both of us.
Yeah.
And there are other husband and wife teams, but what you get is almost a Valley native who's been here for over 25, however many years.
You're dating yourself.
I know. I turned 40 this year.
The
but
big
you get
4-0.
somebody who, I know, but you've been
a baby.
somebody who's been here, right? Who
Yeah.
knows the Valley, who's seen it grow. Like, with the 101 used to just be like this long. And, so I've seen a lot of it. You also get the Illinois implant, the Chicago, the snowbird who came and stayed, and half of our state is that. So maybe from somewhere else, but same story. So you get that perspective. Like, what's it like for someone who's been here? What do you love about it? And then also, what drew you? What attracted you? What kept you here? That type of thing. And then you can get granular because we've lived all over the valley, in different parts of Scottsdale, Cave Creek. I used to have a house in Tatum Branch. She was in Biltmore, Arcadia,
We were in Gilbert.
Gilbert. Now we're in Tempe. We can't make up our minds, but
We think our next move is Scottsdale.
yeah, we might be
We're all
moving
over.
again, but yeah. So you get that. You also get so how do I
Very
say
different
this?
perspectives.
Yeah, the same game plan, the same end goal, but two very different ways of getting there.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more direct, hard-headed. Like, we'll just kind of tell you, you know.
Yeah.
When we need the big guns to come out, they talk to him. I'm the softie.
No,
soft touch?
no, the big guns is Chrystal because she's
not
running the
true.
show, right?
Yeah.
She's doing all the things, and no, you get the two different angles. When we go out and we show couples, like, it works very well.
The dynamic is
The
good.
dynamics, plus, if it's a family, we bring Harper, our daughter, our 2-year-old daughter. Like, we use her for marketing. No, but we bring her. Why not?
Yeah.
When one of us does an open house, Harper always comes and visits. But yeah, I mean, we involve the family. So if we know that you have a family, like, bring your kids, we're bringing ours, So it's, everybody can spit market stats and everybody can do their research and bend the data however they want to do it. But, like, not everybody can just be real and honest and true. And that's what you get with us. You good, bad, ugly, whatever. Again, I'm a handshake guy. You want to work with me? Work with me. If not, not, right? And if not, maybe talk to her and you might want to work with her.
Right.
But
had that,
you just get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. It just works really well.
Well, and then our backgrounds too. So
Oh yeah. So
there's just a lot of dynamic.
she's
there.
heavy sales her whole life.
Yeah.
I've been in finance, so I've had a few financial different licenses. I've done that. And then I was in iBuying, institutional buying. So for 4 years, I'm also licensed in Georgia still. It's not active, but I was licensed in Georgia. So for a year, I submitted around 25 cash offers a day for a REIT in Atlanta while sitting in Arizona. And then, when I started my iBuying adventure, I was on the listing side and I was handling 40 to 60 active contracts at a time with no TC.
It was chaos.
So by the time I got out of it and I was managing agents, I was managing at least around 20 agents at a time. And that was spread across maybe like 5 teams across the US. So I was licensed in Arizona and Georgia, or am, but I also had to learn the contracting in Colorado, all the different, Florida stuff. Where else? Ohio,
Tennessee, I think.
Tennessee.
Everywhere. Yeah.
So I had to
all
learn
over.
those Texas. I had to learn those contracts, know those contracts, to be familiar with them. And so with that comes, I think I've been a part of maybe like 800 transactions, probably 500 of which I handled, right? My name's not on them, so don't go look up and say, "Oh, you're lying." That's not how iBuying works. But but I handled them. They were mine. I made the call. I submitted the offer. I did the negotiation. I did the background paper. Everything.
So very well-rounded.
So you get a very
angle
well-rounded. I mean,
that side.
I've probably, between the two of us, we've probably seen anything and everything that can happen in a transaction. In real estate, on the traditional side.
That's powerful.
So we have that, and we don't really talk about that with people. Our clients we do, but we don't really. Oh, we've been a part of this many transactions. Because it doesn't matter. Everybody's seen what they've seen, but it does help. It does add value.
Right. It's a tool that's in your tool belt that allows you to say, hey, like, oh, we've seen this. We're experienced. We've seen that. We've seen this. I've seen how this plays out. I think it's very valuable. So I think that's great.
Yeah. And I think our other biggest thing that maybe sets us apart, I kind of touched on it earlier, but I think communication, we're kind of up our clients' butts, like probably
not in a bad
overly,
way.
probably overly, but we just like to make sure everyone knows what's going on. I think that's like, I think that's one of the biggest disconnects maybe in this business.
And not just with clients, but like with other agents too.
Yeah.
Like, make the phone call before you send the offer. Make the phone call
Before you send a crazy binzer.
Make the phone call before the counter has 6 things that never came up in conversation. You know what I mean? Like, The communication, I seriously think is key.
It's key in everything, in business, in relationships, everything.
Just in life.
In life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was you bring up a good point, because sometimes we forget with our clients, like we do this every day, many times a day, many times a month and a year. But this could be the first time our clients do it, or it could be the first time our clients have done it in 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? And if you ask me for the details of something I did 10 years ago one time, I'd have no
thank you.
recollection of those details.
Of course.
And so there was a survey that came out from NAR, and it was like asking people who had bought and sold homes the most frustrating aspect. And the result was that they didn't know what was coming next. So the fact is,
That's stressful.
it's stressful, right? You don't know
Yeah.
what's coming next.
Who
So when I heard
likes
that, I was like,
that?
oh, now I have a process that we follow where we touch the clients every single week. But I brought that back to our team. And when I'm making a phone call or talking to somebody up front on the initial consultation, I'm like very clear to make sure, like, hey, this is the next step. And when I call them and I give them the update of like where they are, hey, this is the next step. So the fact that you are over communicating and telling people, hey, this is what you can expect next, alleviates what is the biggest concern of theirs during the transaction, which is, I don't know what's coming next.
Yeah, that guidance is so key. I mean, this is, for most people, this is one of the biggest purchases they make in their life, right? So it's just important for us to really be there and be their biggest advocate and their cheerleader, and really make sure that we're helping them to make the best decisions throughout. Too.
Well, I think a big part of that too, with the over communication, is we ask a lot of questions. Because with anything, especially on like listing appointments, but with other clients, whoever asks the most questions wins, because that no one's just going to tell you their objections, their worries, their concerns, because you feel stupid, right? You're like, why do I don't understand this. I don't really, he's talking really fast, I don't. So we check in, not just by giving like the next step and all that too, but it's always at the end, like, what questions do you have? Does that make sense? Like, is that something that seems like, you know what's next? And then the other thing is, okay, so we just went over all this. We've answered your question. That's good. Okay. What's the next step? That's the last question. And then you put it on them, and then they have to tell you, we're going to order the appraisal. We're going to do this, it's all right. You're good now, so you kind of put that back on them after going through everything. It's just a little thing I've learned from managing agents, right? During what's the next step? What did we just talk about? Were you listening? Are you good?
Did you zone out for those couple minutes? Yeah. Or are you paying attention? You really understand what's going on here?
Yeah. There's a quiz later.
Yeah. We're going to send it to you. What's it like? You mentioned kind of the benefit of having the two of you as a team. What's it like being a husband and wife team that, works together, obviously spends...
Eats, sleeps, plays.
Everything together. Yeah.
It's fun.
It's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah. I know most people couldn't do it. Yeah. It's not for everyone.
I told her, what was this, yesterday? I literally go, if we didn't work together, this whole thing might not work.
Yeah.
Because we're so involved in what we do that if I was doing something else and she was doing something, like, this just wouldn't work.
We just get each other.
So it just, I don't know. It's like the perfect,
yin and yang.
Literally marriage and of yin and yang. Yeah, it works.
It is. It's
That's
good.
awesome.
I don't know how it works. I mean, we have some arguments every now and then.
But
we rarely fight.
I hope so. Everybody's
Yeah,
no,
of course, we're human.
Yeah.
Everything's good. I think because we get our frustration out on the other agents. We come home and we feel great.
Can you believe that guy?
Yeah, that's what it's. What would you?
What are they thinking?
Yeah. So
and you can understand it very well, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's very clear to one another. Like, I know, you can't believe that.
And I think that's the beauty of it too. Is for our family, I think that dynamic just really works.
Yeah. But like, being brutally honest, what makes it hard is there's no escape.
Yeah.
So when one of us,
like last night,
when one of us needs a break, that means the other one has to be mom, dad, and business owner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like,
and so that's cool. Take your break, but then I'm gonna need like a whole day break. Or vice versa. Right. So it just that's the reality.
The balance.
That's the rub.
The balance.
Is like, okay.
Also, if we don't close deals, there's no one else getting a paycheck. There's no one. So. That helps and it hurts. We're in it together. We're walking through the mud together, But then, we're both frustrated together. And
Yeah.
so it's good and bad, but overall it's
good.
awesome. It's really good.
It's
What
a
do
good
you
balance.
guys like to do? Tell us a little bit, outside of work. We've been talking about real estate and work and talked a little bit about Harper, but outside of work, what do you guys like to do?
So lately we've been trying to do family Fridays.
Nice.
So we've started taking Fridays off. We work every day, so we'll take Fridays off.
Yeah.
So I think the other Friday we went
take
to
it off ish.
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 But
Yeah.
we went for a
Yeah.
hike, right? So
There
we
you
went
go.
up to Fountain Hills. There's a really cool hike when you park at the park where there is the fountain. It's like a 2-mile loop.
Lookout trail or
Something like that. Yeah, it goes back into the neighborhood and then it borders where Fountain Hills stops and then the Indian Reservation or like the preserve starts. So there's 4 peaks, just the whole view.
And it's pretty easy, so I like that.
And we had Harper in the backpack and she got to see the fountain go off.
Oh, yeah.
Then we played at the park. So we like to explore. We did like a resort pass the other Friday
To
at
the
the
Princess,
Princess.
yeah.
Just so she could, because we don't have a pool, so she
Yeah.
swim. But I love to hike. Trail running, I used to be huge. And that was during like 120 degrees. That's my
He's crazy.
no water, just go run for an hour. I haven't run a little bit, but I need to get
You
back
gotta
into
tell somebody
it.
I'm going running. Here's
Yeah.
where I'll be in case you don't hear from me.
Yeah, we used to share location.
He doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But
But being outdoors, and then I don't know, I won't want to speak for both of us, but like we love to go out to eat. We love concerts. We love music. It's a big part of our life and our family. We watch as little TV as possible. And when we're
dance in the kitchen.
yeah,
a lot.
when we're home,
Oh, that's
the TV's off,
Yeah.
the music's on, and it's either outside or inside, and we're just dancing, having a good time.
Yeah.
Harper likes the boogie. I've seen a
Harper-
couple Instagram
She's
videos.
got that girl's got some moves.
She's got
Yep.
moves.
Yeah, I don't know where she gets it from because I have 2 left feet.
Not me
but
either, but yeah,
She gets
she's
down.
got moves.
Probably because I took her to, she was in my belly. I was maybe 24 weeks, I think.
Yeah, we took her to a
We went
reggae
to
concert.
a concert
There
in
you go.
Flagstaff.
Yeah. The Orpheum.
And then
Orpheum?
she
Yeah.
was like a year old when she, right?
Took her back to Flagstaff to another
For
reggae
another
concert.
concert.
She's like, I
She
remember.
loved
There's a
this.
theme
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
No,
That's our life, though. We love
just like
have
to
fun.
explore, have fun,
Yeah.
be outside. Being outside is very important
Yeah.
to both of us. And just enjoying stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've been golfing a little bit too, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
he
trying.
just got into
Getting
it
into
almost
it.
a year ago.
And I actually just signed up for my first big boy golf trip next year.
Really?
Yeah, my fraternity brothers. If I doubt you guys are gonna watch this, but if they see it, they're laughing because they're like, "You're going?"
And they've been doing this for years.
Yeah. So they went. This year was Palm Springs. I missed out on that, but next year it's Orlando.
Okay.
So we got 2 houses. We're all gonna go. There's like 24 guys, I think, going. And it's one day is 2 rounds back to back, and then it's like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We're gone Sunday. But yeah, I've been practicing. Got my Smash Pass at Dobson Ranch.
Nice.
Love that place.
I don't know what a smash pass is.
It's
so.
just, you get discounts and stuff. But it's cool. I've really enjoyed it. It is my little escape. I'll be like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to go just hit balls for an hour and
Yeah.
I'll be gone. And
We all need those escapes.
yeah.
Well, and as Harper
they're
gets
important.
older, you could take her out. I've
So we've
started taking
already,
Clay,
actually,
you
yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
Clay and I played this last. I'm not a good golfer, but we like to get out there and have fun.
That's
and
good.
it's like a good way to get out.
Yeah.
And
Bonding too.
time,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's fun. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I was like, this is something that we can do together. He's old enough now where
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, he can like hit it down the fairway
Yeah.
and keep it straight and in the general direction of the hole.
as
Mostly.
good as anybody
That's
can
great.
hope
That's
for.
all.
Yeah.
That's right. That's all I'm looking like. This
I
is
would
great.
like to be able to
Yeah.
do that too.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Harper's already showing interest. So
Yeah, we got our little wooden set, and she was
Yeah.
playing this morning.
Yeah,
we were
she
putting
was.
this morning.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
yeah, at 3
Scholarships in
o'clock
her
when she
future.
woke up.
yeah.
3 a.m. when she woke up, wanted to tee
Yeah,
off.
wanting to die.
She's like, it's early. Let's get this tea time going.
She's a good putting partner though. We go to Lou's, in
Yeah, yeah.
Phoenix, and I'll take my putter and we'll go putt around, and she'll go grab them and bring them back. So I don't have to move. I'm just
That's awesome.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
she
That's
loves
great.
it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Well, I just also want to say thank you again for you guys making the time. As you know, I think at this point, both of you are very special to me.
Well,
and
we love you, Noah.
You're
some of
special
those
to
relationships
us.
grow over time. Like
Yeah.
would start off as professional and become personal. And, I love both of you and your families. And I feel honored to be able to work with you and count you guys as friends. So thank you for making the time and for sharing a little bit about your story today.
We wouldn't miss it. We
Yeah,
love you.
thanks so
We
much
love
for
you
having
back.
us.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.